Hello, my name is Aditya Somaya, and the topic for today is World Stats and Understanding Happiness. So, first, we come to the introduction and the motivation that in an increasingly interconnected world, there is a requirement to understand factors that influence happiness of the people, socioeconomic factors such as GDP, health, education, environmental metrics from all the various countries. So, our interactive dashboard visualizes this matrix and offers a dynamic tool for policymakers, researchers, and the public alike. These users can uh, visualize the complex global data. They can interact with the data, and this comparison can also highlight successful policies and pinpoint areas for improvement. So the data set is from Kaggle for the year of 2023, and the Kaggle data set in turn has been collected from various sources such as the United Nations and the World Bank. There is one more source of data, which is the World Happiness Report of 2023, from which we take columns such as freedom, perception of corruption, and a few other columns that we take into consideration. Coming to the visuals, we first have the choropleth map. The choropleth map shows the color by country for GDP per capita, which is given here for example. This can be changed later on via drop-down menu. Then we have a radar chart, and in the overall dashboard, we can see that there is a scatter plot, radar chart, pie chart, and a parallel coordinates plot included. Let's move on to the dashboard. So here we have the overview of the dashboard. So by default, GDP per capita is loaded. And here we can see that the countries that are darker in color are happier, while the lighter countries have much less happiness. So we can basically change, and let's go generosity. Here we can see that it changes. So on hover, we can see that the country along with the value is highlighted. And here there is a plot for happiness versus generosity. Here we can see that the correlation between happiness and generosity is not much. It seems to be pretty random. Whereas if we go back to the GDP per capita, it is pretty much a linear, which shows that happiness and GDP per capita, which is nothing but the power purchasing capacity of the people, is linearly correlated. As in when the GDP per capita increases, so does the happiness. Um, so in this way, we can see various factors such as freedom to make life choices, which does not seem to matter much. Another important one, I suppose, is social support right here. So this is also highly linearly related and seems to be very important in determining the happiness of the people. So this can be of importance to policymakers. Then we go to other different forms of interactions. So people can click and unclick on a country and see the radar chart. Here, for example, if I want to compare China, United States, Canada, and Russia, for example, here we have the related radar chart profiles of these countries with social support, GDP per capita, labor force participation, and total tax rate as the parameters. And so here we can easily compare that, hey, China has a good amount of labor force participation and the tax rate is also high, but the GDP per capita and social support is low for China. And so yeah, similarly, it is a very good tool for comparing a few countries. Now we go to the next form of interaction, that is to see and visualize what countries lie in what areas. So here, if we remove these countries and focus on the region. So as and when we move around the region, the corresponding countries are highlighted in the choropleth as well as the parallel coordinates plot below. So here we can just easily visualize, hey, these are the best performing countries because they have the highest happiness score. So we can visualize which countries these are by their social support, and we can see which countries are falling behind and need the most amount of improvement. Changing back to another, let's suppose, perception of corruption here. This also does not seem to be correlated, which is surprising because there is a lot of argument that it is due to corruption that there are a lot of problem in society, but corruption does not seem to have a very high impact on the happiness of the entire population as a whole. Here also we can see which are the least happy countries, suppose Afghanistan and Lebanon, and the most happy countries with low corruption are these countries: Australia, France, Germany, Canada, United Kingdom, and so on. So, yeah, another form of interaction is by clicking on any particular region, we'll be able to see countries of that region. So, for example, Oceania has Australia and New Zealand as the only two countries. We can also see Europe. It is visualized here. Europe generally has good scores for every metric. And we can also see, for example, Africa, which has the least amount of happiness. So here we can compare the brown continent Africa and blue continent Africa separate on many issues such as happiness, healthy life expectancy. There is a clear divide between the continent of Europe and the continent of Africa. But some factors such as generosity, in which there is no particular separation, this indicates that generosity is not a very good factor at determining happiness. So in this way, I think this tool can be very important and helpful for policymakers, for example, like United Nations or even public health officials of any particular country looking to uh, increase the happiness of their population. Thank you.